Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and it's time to get wealthy. You're going to learn exactly what you need to know and do to finally achieve the level of financial success you desire and you deserve. The Great Resignation has women specifically leaving the halls of corporate to start their own business. What will it take, though, for those women to move from the halls of corporate to successful entrepreneurship? Here to share with us what she has seen in her own business in helping these women transition is someone who's going to tell us exactly what you need to do if you're thinking of making the shift. But here are the three things you may not know about what it takes to be successful and as an entrepreneur and move from those corporate walls. The first thing is that starting your own business, profitability is probably going to take you about 5 years. And then secondly, you've got to build your brand because it is an asset and one of the keys to you being successful. And then finally, one of the other keys to success are PR and marketing. And here to share with us exactly what you need to do in order to make the shift is Dr. Pam Perry. She's an award-winning communications professional. She teaches teachers and authors and speakers. She's also the founder of Speakers Magazine. She's been featured on many media outlets, but her claim to fame is really helping you to become an authorpreneur and learn how to use PR, marketing, and social media to your advantage. Let's welcome Dr. Pam Perry on Get Wealthy.
Hey, thank you, Deb. This has been good. This is good. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm excited. Well, let me just let folks know we both hail from Motown, the city of Detroit, and that is our claim to fame. You know, it's so funny. I was with some of our other friends from Detroit, and the first thing we'll say is, "You from Detroit?" "Yeah, I'm from Detroit." And those people that I was talking about, you know as well. But let's get right into how to get wealthy as an authorpreneur or just as an entrepreneur. And we're going to kind of framework this conversation. Our framework for success on Get Wealthy is mindset, strategy, and execution. And so, Pam, that's where I want to start with mindset. And so my first question to you is, what kind of mindset do you need to have if you're starting to think, maybe you're in corporate right now and you're like, man, I got to escape from this corporate wall. What kind of mindset shift is that going to require as an entrepreneur?
That is so key because in order to get out there, you've got to be ready. So people say, oh, I need to get out there. But before they get out there, they have to have the mindset. So confidence is key. Confidence in their skills, confidence in what they're bringing to the table. And I find that so many people, because they were working in a job, quote unquote, day to day, and they're getting their paycheck, but then they feel like, oh, well, they're just paying me a salary. No one's going to really pay me what I'm bringing to the table outside of this job. But they have to realize that the reason why the company is paying you that paycheck is because you've got some skills. And so you have the skill set. You have to develop the mindset to really know that you can do this on your own. Your purpose, your mission, being real clear, be real secure in what kind of things that you're bringing. And so many people, when they say they want PR, I don't have a magic wand to give you that confidence. That is something that you have to have on the inside.
That's good. And and the reason why I wanted to start here, Pam, with mindset is because oftentimes I feel like people don't understand their unique gift or talent and then how to translate that into a business if that is what they want to do. And so the other question I have for you is, what kind of mindset can I have even before I leave an organization that can put me on the right footing and make it easier for me to make the transition?
I say one of the main things, I'll give you an example of um, a client that was working as a CFO. They were working as a CFO and they've done this for many, many years. They won awards because they were so good at doing the CFO. And this person then wanted to leave and start their own company. And one of the first things I told them that they needed to do was really start an online course. Well, this was like a person that had the deer in the headlights because it was like, I said, but just teach what you already know. These, how to do a particular program or how to set up things. And it was like really trying to get her to understand that these are things that you do in your sleep. Other people will pay you for. You're confident in a corporate setting, but in outside and quote unquote, without those corporate walls behind you, you are your own brand and you can let people know that you've done this before for corporate. Now you can do it for them, for their small business or for their nonprofit. And it's just really trying to get people to understand that you've got to have that confidence to do that. Now, you can't make the excuses that I don't know the technology, whatever. If you've been doing something more than a decade or two or 3 decades, you have the goods. You have the goods. You have the skill to do it. You can do it. It's just about whether you're selling yourself on yourself.
Well, I do think that's great, but I do think there's another challenge. And I certainly encountered this when I transitioned into entrepreneurship. And it was this. It's that you're coming from a huge brand, right? That people automatically have confidence in, and they know that company has the infrastructure, and particularly when you're talking about finances, and has the what do I want to say, credibility, especially in seeing this recent fallout in banking and that sort of thing. And so you come out of those covered walls where when you call somebody, you say, I'm calling from, XYZ company, and they immediately know. And now you're out here and you're trying to say, hi, I'm Deborah Owens from Wealthy You, and people have no idea what Wealthy You is. How do I now make the right mindset shift that can convey to people that I can deliver and I have the experience, the knowledge, and the credibility without having that corporate brand covering me, if you will?
Yeah. And that's the thing. You said it right there, that they're coming from a big brand that people know, like, and trust, that people understand what it is. So you have to develop your personal brand. And there's a whole strategy behind it. One of the first things is obviously really connecting to your right ideal audience and speaking in front of them. People will feel your energy when you are speaking in front of it. And it can be something as simple as like, I'm just leaving my corporate job. Now I really want to get involved and get new clients. And I really want to share what it is that I know. Maybe speaking at the chamber, maybe speaking at different organizations, because you're now going to be sharing your expertise with people that then can understand what it is that you do. So public speaking is a great way. I'm not saying get out here and be a platform speaker, and be like a Les Brown, but to get out there and do public speaking, doing trainings for different organizations. It can be the supplier diversity organizations. It can be a lot of organizations where entrepreneurs are gathering. You can go on meetup.com and even find some things like that where you can actually go and really present. It's almost like a way of networking, but you're really taking the stage and showing your expertise in training. You can do webinars online for free so that people can understand, taking them through the process of what it would be like working with you. So it is a little bit like digging in and trying to develop your own personal brand. PR is a part of it, having media interview you about your story, interviewing you about what it is that you do, giving your opinion about maybe something that's going on in the news cycle. So all of these things are building your personal brand. Just like you were working for that corporation that had a personal brand, now you're developing your own personal brand. You're using your own media, just like, Roland Martin is his own personal brand besides actually having his own network, but he built a personal brand before he actually built this network, right? So building a personal brand, letting people know exactly what it is, being seen in the media, your local newspapers, local radio stations, local TV stations. Those are the places where you need to be seen sharing your expertise. And of course, obviously, there's social media. So you have to be very strategic about the kind of content that you're sharing at that point. But really, the main thing is getting your own personal PR machine up and going. And don't be bashful about it. Don't be bashful about it.
That's good. Well, I do think, Pam, to that end, I do think that the point I think that's very important that I didn't do very well when I was with one organization was not having that personal brand outside the organization. In many cases, you do have to be careful because you have to be compliant with the organization. You can't make it feel like you're being disloyal. But when we come back, I want to talk about some specific strategies for people and what they can do even before they take the leap so that they can hit the ground running. So don't go anywhere, folks. We're talking with Dr. Pam Perry. She is founder of Speakers Magazine, a phenomenal PR professional. And when we come back, it's all about strategy.
Let's be honest, as successful women, we're crushing it. Maxed out 401k and Roth IRA? Check. Aggressive savings and investments? Check. Yet, the freedom our success was supposed to buy can leave us stuck on the six-figure hamster wheel, watching retirement slip further down the road. There's another way. Get coaching courses and community at wealthyu.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Deborah Owens, and this is Get Wealthy. And right now we're talking about how you can get wealthy and make the leap onto entrepreneurship. And joining me today is Dr. Pam Perry, and we're talking about how you can now have strategy around doing it. So Dr. Pam Perry, I love saying that too. I'm so proud of you, Pam.
Thank you.
Just in the things that you've been able to accomplish. And now I want to talk a little about some specific strategies. And I know that, yes, we are seeing the great resignation. People are jumping out of these organizations to start their own businesses. But what I would say, something that I failed at initially was really making sure I was prepared and clear about what it is, clear about my brand and actually what I was going to deliver to the market. So that's what I wanted to start with, are some strategies for that. So let's think of this scenario, and maybe you can even give us an example of a client, of someone who, like Roland Martin was a great example of someone who built a personal brand, even though he was, employed by different news organizations. What do you need to do right now to be kind of paving the way to full entrepreneurship?
Oh, it is so important. So if you are working in a corporate job and you are really doing the work, and you're getting promotions and you're in the C-suite and all that kind of thing, so you're getting all the accolades, but what you need to be doing right now is developing your marketing materials. When I say your marketing materials, so you're implementing your personal PR plan, so you need some materials. One of the main things is get some photos, right? Because if you're going to start doing public speaking, you're going to eventually, right? They're going to ask you for a photo. Getting those bios together, getting all these kind of things, getting some articles written with your byline, things that you can write for free. It won't be in conflict with your company because you're going to be writing on what you know. So you may write for your trade association, some articles. You may write for some different websites, some articles, but they're what they call thought leadership articles, because you're leading with the thoughts that you have, because you're the expert, you're the subject matter expert. So get those photos together, get those marketing materials together, get the bios together. Even if you can, start your social media so that you can get your domain name. You can buy your name right now. That's not going to be against it. Buyyourname.com, and then get your social media handles, because a lot of times it is you want to tread a fine line if you're currently in the job to make sure that they're not seeing you all over social media, telling people that, I'm taking clients, right? So you want to at least start with the point of doing the thought leadership articles, and they can follow you on Twitter or they follow you on LinkedIn or something like that. Doing LinkedIn articles is really, really good, because then people can see and witness your expertise. Then when you do take the leap, they know, like, and trust you because they've seen that you do know the expertise that you have. So I would say start with your marketing materials. That is like the basics, the photos, by your domain name.com, your name.com, if you can. I had a particular client who was leaving the nonprofit world. And first thing she did was buy her name.com, figure out her niche, figure out what she was going to do, what was her offerings, put that together into the website. And then basically from that standpoint, we started a YouTube channel and started a podcast. I love video, obviously video and podcasts. And from there, she was interviewing other experts in the industry on the area that she was actually an expert in as well. So it was like she was showing that she was an expert in the area by interviewing all the experts. So years later, she started writing books. That's something that you need to do as well. She was writing books. She was getting nominated for awards, getting asked to speak at different places, did her online courses. But it started with getting her name.com, really defining her niche, creating her content online, writing books. And then she's very, very active in a lot of organizations as well. Building community is really important. So you want to make sure that
Well,
you're a part of community.
And I think what you're alluding to and what I think is important is I think we're in silos, right? Like we think that we can only do this at work and we can only do that outside. And that's oftentimes when people are considering going into entrepreneurship, that they are reluctant, right, to start building those assets and building their brand right now. But as I was listening to you, what I was thinking about is intrapreneurship, right? While you're already in the company, that you're already creating that brand that doesn't necessarily compete with the company, because whether you like it or not, you have a brand in an organization and you need to have one to be, known, liked, and trust inside. And that if you're strategic, your point is that you've already thought about what your next move is so that you're building those assets internally. So when you transition, I've seen where, and in fact, I've even had it where I've left and that company has actually became a client.
There you go. That's because of the way you were positioned. That was because of the way you were positioned. And really, positioning is everything. If you are working in a company, sometimes they have awards that you can be nominated for, or you can nominate yourself. That is a thing. I had one particular client that was working for Ford Motor Company, and she was working at Ford Motor Company, and she had a big level job, and she knew she would be leaving within 2 years or so. So she did all the things that she could so that she could be nominated for these awards, and she won them. And now when you Google her name, because that is a thing, people will Google your name, they will see that you won some awards based on the place where you were, but now you're gone somewhere else. So if you're in a big company that has a big have a big position, make sure that you're nominating yourself for awards. And that is really, really key. The company will be behind you. They will, whether it's the Women Excellence Award or any of those type of things, nominate yourself for those awards while you're with that company, and you'll get the plaque, you'll get the PR shine. And then when you leave, people will remember who you were. It's about positioning. People remember, oh, okay, that was the person that won that particular award. They were the Woman of the Year award or whatever it was, right? When you were working with that company. Now they have their own company. So you're using that to build your platform.
And one of the other issues that I wanted you to weigh in on, Pam, that I find with people is when they are thinking of what is going to be my transition into entrepreneurship, they don't often know how to monetize that skill set, how to really build a business around. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you maybe being within an organization, you're going to do a franchise, and then that comes with everything. But if it's from a personal branding standpoint, and that you're going to take your skill set and monetize, what advice can you give just around understanding how to position your skills in the marketplace at a value that is competitive?
Right. So one of the main things is sales is a real key. Okay. So when you're an entrepreneur, you are the salesperson of that company. So nothing happens unless something sells. So just even though we're in strategy, part of the mindset is knowing that you are a salesperson, that you do have to let people know what you offer and offer it to the right people and offer it often. Okay.
So how do you know though, Pam? How do you know? I guess the question I'm asking specifically that I struggle with is what is the strategy for finding out how you should price your services if you don't have a track record and you're unknown?
That is probably the biggest thing. I've been in business like now 22 years. Pam Perry PR is 22 years. When I first started, I was a publicist and I worked with McDonald's and Ford and all these different type of companies. And so I didn't know what to price things because I didn't have to price things because I was getting paid. So even like a press release, literally when I first started, I didn't even know what to charge for like a press release. And my going rate at the time, this was 20, almost 25 years ago, was like $100. It was like, what? And I just didn't know. I was uncomfortable with saying what something costs. I didn't know. This was way before Google. I didn't know how to price or how to really put together the offering and providing that value. But you have to, that's part of it, of getting a coach. You're a coach, you're a wealth coach as well. You've got to get a coach, someone that is in your industry that can help you with that. And it really didn't change for me until I really made that pivot when I got a business coach. And I'm telling you, and you were saying when you first start that you don't make a profit for the first 5 years. It's because for me, for the first 5 years, I didn't know what I was charging. I was just making up numbers. I was like, oh my God. And then finally, my coach said to me, he says, listen, he says, you can't help everybody. That's number one. He says, and it's okay that you don't help everyone. He said, but you definitely can't help broke folk. Okay. So you can't help broke folk. He said, this is not a ministry. This is not a missionary project. He says, you cannot help broke folks. And so it had to shatter that whole mindset. So what I would say is that you're putting together what it is that you know that your value that you're going to bring to that client, and basically you're looking at what it is that is value to them. So if I do marketing and PR for a particular client and they attract, say, 4 clients that pay them, I don't know, $40,000, right? $10,000. So you know at a certain point in time that what a percentage of their return and investment is investing with you, because they know if they invest with you, then you can actually then provide them some kind of sales that they can track, say it's $40,000, then you know that maybe we can charge them 10 if they're going to net at least 40. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah, absolutely.
Really the value of that.
Well, the only reason that I wanted to have this discussion with you, PM, is because myself included, so often, and even when you're going after contracts, whether they be corporate contracts or government contracts, I think that, so much is focused on the hourly work and how much time is it going to take you to do something? Or if you were to give an hour presentation, what is your time worth? And it not really the impact and the fact that the reason you're able to deliver a customized presentation in an hour is because of the 20 years it took you to develop that expertise. And so what happens is, I find, is that people come up and they're trained. They don't know how to position themselves based on their value, the impact or the return on investment versus the time that it's taking them to actually deliver something.
Exactly. Exactly. That is so true. Something that may take you 5 minutes only takes you 5 minutes. So you're going to charge by the hour, but it didn't take you 5 minutes because you've been doing this for 25 years. But that's
Ah,
why.
that's good. That's good. And so that's why why I wanted to have you on to really talk about what people need to do to position themselves to prosper, right? Because the other stat that I didn't mention is even though there's a great resignation and people are starting businesses, in fact, Black women are the segment of business owners that are starting businesses at a rapid rate. And yet, what we know is they have the highest failure rate, right? Like 95% of those businesses fail. And of the 5% that do, are able to stay on, they make average revenues of about $40,000. So when you look at $40,000, man, you should have just stayed in that corporate job and,
Exactly.
not have to work 24/7 in order to achieve your goals. This is great, Pam. So when we come back, we've talked about mindset, we've talked about strategy. Now I want to talk about execution. So don't go anywhere, folks. When we come back, we're going to talk about now, what do you need to execute? Rather than just thinking about making that transition and resigning, what do you need to execute on in order to be successful? Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Deborah Owens, and we're talking about getting wealthy through entrepreneurship. And my guest, Dr. Pam Perry, has been sharing with us the strategies that she uses with her clients who are authorpreneurs, entrepreneurs. Pam, let's talk about now. We went to the mindset. Let's get out of our head and
Right.
let's talk about what I need to execute. So I'm sitting in here. I'm listening, watching this show, and I've done a lot of the things that you have mentioned that we've discussed, but I'm still afraid, right, to take that final step. What are some of the things I need to execute on right now so that it's a smooth transition?
I would say one of the things is what you did, Deb. And it was the umbrella for your brand, and it was a book. And your book was your umbrella that had so many different products. It went places where you couldn't go. If you wanted to have a speaking gig, you could send that book ahead of you and say, hey, I would like it. I mean, the book. So if you have all this knowledge in your head, and I'm not, and you can do 12 chapters, outline those chapters, make it so that those are actionable chapters where people are hiring you for each one of those particular things, because they're all in your head. People are hiring you for what you know, not who you are. They're hiring you for what you know. So
wait a minute. I want to make sure this audience does not miss what you just said. And it really is very strategic.
Yeah.
Because I think people like to do memoirs or talk about themselves, but you said something very critical. And it's that each one of those chapters are actionable. Yeah, and that you can then take one of those chapters out and it becomes a workshop, a workbook, and then that's amazing.
That's it. And listen, talk about pivoted and all these kind of things. You can use technology. I'm not saying create the entire book with ChatGPT and AI, but it is a good start for you. Okay.
It is possible.
I did not have it 10 years ago, 20 years ago. If I had it today, that's what I will be doing. Execute on that. Pull it out. What is it that people coming to you for? What are they asking for? What do you know you're good at? Who do you enjoy working with? Who do you want to be the hero for? Who do you want to help? For me, it's authors and speakers. I love authors and speakers, so I want to help those people. That's why I did the speakers magazine. You know, those are the people I want to be the hero for. I want to help authors and speakers. So yes, I'm going to be partial to like writing a book, but the book can be the overarching thing for your brand to get you going. If you're working at a job right now, it may take you 3 months, it may take you 6 months. A really good book probably takes longer than that, but you got ChatGPT can help you. But you want to start crafting that book, and it doesn't have to be a War and Peace novel, it doesn't have to be this thick, but enough meat on it so that people can understand your perspective on what it is that you're a subject matter expert in. SME, subject matter expert. Just remember that you are that, and people are paying you for your knowledge. Yeah, you can position.
Well, I do think, Pam, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I do think that, you know, even when I start, I'm in the midst, I just finished another book, by the way, Get Wealthy, that will be soon coming to your stores everywhere. But the point I want to make is I still get intimidated by the whole writing process, right? And I think we have, and if you've never written, even though this will be my 5th book, if you've never written a book, I think our audience might be thinking, well, that sounds good, but if I don't feel like I'm really a great writer, what do you suggest? How are some of the ways that the clients that you have had have gotten assistance in writing books?
Oh my God, there's just so many different ways. I mean, first thing is you can hire a ghostwriter, right? You can do a ghostwriter and write it collaboratively with someone. But at a certain point in time, I had a client that hired a ghostwriter, and the ghostwriter kept going back and forth and was not getting it right. And then finally she says, you know what? I could do this. And so she actually wrote it herself, and in her book won a lot of different awards. But I would say the very least, have a writing coach, someone who will keep you accountable, because we can all say, oh, I want to write a book, and then 1 year go past, 2 years go past, 3 years go past. But I'm telling you, people who pay attention. So if you get a writing coach and they say, you know, I want to see your chapter by the end of the month, you're going to get that chapter done because you're paying them, right? So you want to get a writing coach. And then at that point in time, then you want to really have maybe a community of writers. There's so many different associations where people critique each other's works and that sort of thing. But yeah, you want to get involved in the industry, the publishing industry. There's the National Black Book Festival. You can go and speak to other authors. There's a Book Expo of America. There are all types of different organizations for publishing. So get indoctrinated in that so that you can understand that you're going to be a part of that too. A great one would be the Black Book Festival. That's really important. And then also too, on my blog, there's a webinar that's coming up that I always have webinars from people who start with anthologies. People start with anthologies, which is like a lot of different chapters in one book. And there's a webinar coming up where you can take your anthology chapter and create a whole book from that. And there's people that can show
that's great. We're going to make sure that you give us the all of your URLs and places, that your website and all of your social media handles. I do have another question, because one of the things I don't think people are aware of is that you can write a book, but how do you I think I heard that even published authors, that the average number of sales is like 1,000 books, which isn't a lot, right? So
it's about 200 books a year. The
200?
average 200 books a year.
Wow. So how do I make sure that after I go through all this effort, I get my writing coach, I make the investment, that I am in the, I don't want to say bestseller, but that I am getting a return on my investment for the effort that I've made?
So the book is part of the strategy as well. So you can write the book. If your goal is to be a bestseller, you're not going to make a lot of money on the book, even if it is a bestseller, unless you're selling millions of copies. But if you're strategic, say, I'm writing this book to build my business, then you want to make sure that book is in front of your ideal client as possible, even if you have to give it away. You can make it a book, and that can be fine.
I'm so glad you said that too, Pam, because I do feel like, and especially because we're talking about strategy, one of the most important aspects of a book, as I see it, is that it really extends your brand, right?
Yes.
It can increase the know, like, trust factor very rapidly, because if you've done it right, after that person reads that book, they should know a few things. They should know about you and how you came to, come up with whatever your strategy was, or why you're helping people, your story. And also, it also allows you an opportunity to put examples in that book of how someone used your expertise and were able to make an impact from it. And I think that early on, I thought, oh, well, I'm going to, I've been published a couple of times here. And I thought, oh, I'm going to be this bestseller and I'm going to make all this money. But when you really look at, first you get the advance, then you got to work off that advance, then your royalties may come, and they, depending upon how you negotiated them, they may not be all that. What is the best advice you could give someone just about leveraging being that authorpreneur? And I love the way you put that.
So make the book as interactive as possible. So people may read a chapter or two, and at the very end, maybe they go to a link or scan a QR code for them to go to a video. All right. Teaching them something. Then they read another few chapters, and then they're scanning something, and they download a PDF of a worksheet. Then they may read a few more chapters, and then they're going to maybe your challenge that's automated. So you're making it interactive, so they're buying into you. So they're actually getting to know you, know your ways, and it's interactive, not just reading it and just taking it in, but we can make it so interactive. Downloading PDFs, being part of their community, making sure that you're signing up and being part of, maybe if it's a Facebook group, but you're building community with your book. Because at the end of the day, by the time they finish the book, they know you. They said, well, there's a great event I would like them to speak at. I want them to speak at my retreat. I want them to come and, give a presentation to my company, or I want to hire them directly. Because now they know you. So reading the book, that's one part, but making it interactive so that it has other legs within it, and you're actually pulling people into your community. Having people scan and go to videos is a really, really good thing. So they feel like they're getting a course along with it, or you're explaining something to them that really gives them more explanation, showing them more examples and things like that. So I would say pulling people into the book is really, really good. Maybe it's worksheets or things like that. Because we say, well, I'm going to do a book and then I'm going to do a workbook. Well, workbooks, they're okay, but they really don't sell. Put the workbook in the book, so that people are working along with the book that you have. And it could be like a few sheets that they can stop, because it's like, oh, wow, they really know their stuff. I'm really getting it now. So I would say making that book so interactive so that people will actually want to hire you to book you to speak, or to hire you as a consultant or a coach, or whatever it is that your goal is. But making sure that that book is in front of the right people. That's the key. Making sure it's to the right people, to the right tribe of people that are your ideal clients.
And there you have it, right? So that you have fully leveraged, and it's not just about the getting a return on the actual book, like making a profit off of each book you sell.
But the long term.
Thinking long term. And really, I think the way you would explain that is as a lead magnet, right? Like something that you can give out, or, a free shipping offer or something of that sort, where you can get that book in someone's hand, right? Yes. And that then extends your brand and brings a lot more than $20 ever would. That one $20 book could be the
$20,000 client. Yeah.
Yes,
exactly.
ma'am.
Yes.
I
so
absolutely.
Key.
Yeah,
yes.
I love that. So when we come back, it's all up. So we talked about mindset. We've talked about strategy. We've talked about execution. And next, we're going to talk about analyze, optimize, and maximize. What do you need to now do to take all of this information we just talked about and execute and put it into action? So don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back.
10 in here?
10, and you don't come out till you die.
And you eat him, you eat him.
Oh my God.
So what?
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Deborah Owens. This is Get Wealthy, and we've been having a fabulous conversation with Dr. Pam Perry. She is the creator and founder of Speakers Magazine, as well as a tremendous PR expert. And we've been talking about you making the shift from a employee, right, to the owner of a business. And now it's our Analyze, Optimize, Maximize round. And I want to talk about what we need to do next. So, Pam, now I want to kind of pull all of this together. This is our Analyze, Optimize, Maximize segment, and I want to think of it as a lightning round. How can we take all of this great information that you've given us and put it into action? So, based on what we've just talked about, if I am sitting in an organization right now, what would be your advice to be my first step?
The first step is really outreach, right? Because you said it earlier, we're operating in silos, right? We're just really, got our head down and we're working. So do some outreach. Outreach could be with your content, writing thought leader articles, really issuing press releases of awards that you've won, awards that you've nominated yourself for. Those are the kind of things that outreach for, because I call it like, okay, now you're ready, set, let's go, right? Let's go, let's get out there. So you want to make sure that you're showing up on stages and that you're making yourself available, letting people know that you are available with your content to speak on an area that you're expert in. So I would say the first thing is really looking at outreach, showing up on different podcasts, showing up on different platforms, whether it's your local newspaper or your local television station, but making sure you're doing that outreach. If you have the time, if you're really good at writing, I would say write a column for your local newspaper. That's a great way, especially if it's only once a month. Or a magazine, a Speakers Magazine. We have people that write for our magazine that are speaking coaches, so they write for us. So making sure that you're doing outreach, do at least one type of outreach once a day. And it could be something as
simple. Okay. And the other thing that I wanted to ask you about, and we talked about it briefly, but I don't think enough. One of the things your expertise really lends itself is public relations. And I want people to understand the difference. Like, we are so accustomed to social media and that, and being able to get our name out that way. When is it really advantageous to hire a PR professional to present us? So let's take this example. We're talking about a book or becoming an entrepreneur. When would I hire someone like you?
You really want to, I'll say this really, and this is why I do quick media coverage. You really, at this point, can do your own PR for yourself. When you become a bigger brand, then you would have, because you're going to have to look at return on investment. If you're just starting out, you don't have any, it's not going to pay off for you yet. So the bigger brands have a publicist, right? They have a publicist because they have more things. They have books, they have courses, they're building. But if you're just starting out, you gotta do it yourself. But you can do quick media coverage. You can get some things going on your own, because media begets media. So you can show up on some news sites. You can do some press releases. You're making sure that you're getting started. But one of the things that I will say that once you do have like the bigger brand, like I have a client right now, she is she just got voted by the governor as like the vice chair of a women's committee. She just won a big award from Wayne State. She got another. I mean, so she has too much that she can't do all her PR herself. She can't pull all the pieces together. At this point, you know, now she has me that can really help navigate all the moving parts. But if you're just starting out, you kind of just want to get some quick media coverage so people can see your digital footprint of the media that you have. Social media is good for amplifying your story, but you want to have your story told through the media lens. And so we can get you booked in like CEO Weekly or the Atlanta Wire or those type of media outlets where they're just getting your story out there. And then eventually you can take that Atlanta Wire or the CEO Weekly and send it to a larger publication, then a larger one and larger. And it grows from there. No one starts at the top. Everybody thinks that they can start out at, you know, whatever, but you've got to grow. So
yeah, I want to be on the Today Show, right? And like thinking that if
you know, like the Today Show wants people that have a bigger brand, right? Because they want more eyeballs on there. So you want to be realistic. So if there's anything, you may want to listen to a publicist in terms of like what you can expect, because so many people just are so unaware of what they really can expect. And I can say that, you know, being real honest with people, you know, you're not going to get on the Today Show just coming out the bat. You know, I had a lot of the people that, you know, like Dr. Sherwood, she's been on Good Day Washington, Good Day Washington, which is in DC. Not Good Morning America, you know, but you're starting your own backyard. You're building some things, you know, you're building some things. So eventually you will get there. How long? People really, you know, for the bigger media, it may take years. It may take years for you to get to that point.
Well, and this is something else that I learned, Pam.
But it's not like you can lose money.
Exactly. But here's what I learned, and this is very, very critical, right? Is that, you know, I was getting interviewed. I was touring with Bishop Jace, and I was getting interviewed by not only local media, but some national media. And then I wrote my book, A Purse of Your Own, and launched the campaign. And finally, we got on CNN. And my husband, Terry, and I, we were like, this is going to change everything, right? But the truth was, my target market, my ideal client is a woman of color, right? And their audience is much broader. So it wasn't that
you overshot. Yeah, you overshot your audience. Exactly. I tell that to people. I say, you're going to overshoot your audience. You want to make money with what you are doing in your business. So just, it is good for vanity purposes to say you've been on these different things, but when you're really looking at the dollars and cents, which is, you know, get wealthy, you want to get wealthy, you want to target the media. It can be a small media and you're the big fish in the pond, but then you're the big fish that gets all the money. So do you want to just be seen or do you want to get paid? And
talk about analyze, optimize, maximize. I really feel like you have hit it on the nail. And the whole point that I wanted to make in having you on, Pam, was really to share with folks, you know, that you can fish in the right pond right where you are. But in order to do so, to not just think about, well, eventually I'm going to resign and I'm going to do this other thing, that you need to start making your moves right now. Yes. And so to that end, give us just one really, really good takeaway on if you were someone who wanted to make this jump, what is it that you would do right now?
The main thing I would do right now, because we can't do anything alone, is to build your platform, build your community. So where you are right now, relationships are everything. Public relations, the word is relationships. So start building the relationships, really looking at who you can help, who needs your help, and who you who can help you. All right. So you want to start really building those relationships, because I'm telling you, one or two connections can make such a big difference in your business. So you want to do that right now, even if it's hiring a coach who has connections, but you want to make sure you're doing it. Then the other thing is really getting your brand assets together, making sure that you have a digital footprint by getting some initial PR. Those kind of things are really, really important, and learning how to leverage the PR once you have it. in your social media. Social media is not everything. It's just an amplifier. So you don't want to put everything all in Facebook because they may take your Facebook page down. So you want to make sure that you are doing some traditional media. That's really, really key. It's really key.
Great advice. Great advice. Well, Dr. Pam Perry, please let folks know where's the best place to reach you. If we were to think of one place that is the best place to get in touch with you and execute on some of the things that we've talked about today, where would that be?
Really simple, PamPerryPR.com. I try to put everything all under one thing, PamPerryPR.com. That's where they would go. They'll find everything, the blogs, the podcasts, quick media coverage, all of the things are there. And the magazine, Speakers Magazine.
Oh, and the Speakers Magazine, that's right. Well, Dr. Pam Perry, thank you so much for helping us get wealthy through PR and positioning. Thanks so much for coming on Get Wealthy.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, folks, don't go anywhere because when we come back, I'm going to give you the 3 takeaways from today's show. So don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you have enjoyed getting wealthy. And if you're someone who is thinking about making the move from inside of the corporation to outside and becoming an authorpreneur, which is a lot of what we talked about today, then these are the 3 takeaways. One of the big key things is that you do public relations, but as she shared with you, it's not necessarily you having to hire someone, but you getting some quick media hits right in your backyard. Secondly, before you leave that company, you've got to build your own brand. And you can do that as an entrepreneur and start to become and position yourself as an expert in the area, not in just any area, the area of which you're going to build that business around. And then finally, what's really, really important and you can leverage, and that's a book. And that book, not necessarily to become a bestseller, but really something that can allow you to extend your brand and position yourself to prosper. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Get Wealthy. I'm Deborah Owens. Thanks for joining me right here, only on Black Star Network.